Childhood is a very emotional time, and this age group is no different. So when children are experiencing extreme emotions throughout their primary school years, what can we do to help that? Well, it's a good time to jump in and give them the skills to deal with their emotions now. In a few years' time, they're going to hit adolescence, and that's a period where that frontal cortex, the part of your brain that controls emotions, is kind of naturally going to shut for renovations for about 3 years, for most of the day. So emotional control is going to become even harder. So now with their primary school, that's the time to build up that emotional resilience, if you like. So emotional control at primary school, they don't have much of a frontal cortex yet. It's not an adult one. It hasn't shut for renovations, but it's still not an adult one. So you really have to be helping them with a lot of that emotional control. The fact that you regulate when they go to bed and making sure they're eating healthily and having 3 meals a day and going to bed, that is helping with their emotional control. A child who stays up until 12 o'clock at night is not going to have anywhere near the emotional control that a child who's gone to bed at 7:30. Because sleep is so important to accessing that brain number 4, that frontal cortex. Look at the sections around emotional control. The children who seem to have the most emotional control in primary school are the children who have parents who use validation, the topic we talked about earlier. Using validation teaches the child a type of emotional intelligence. First you have to identify the emotion. So the parent's saying, oh, it seems like you're angry, why don't you try this? Just that process of saying, oh, it seems like you're angry, identifying the emotion is the start of emotional control. In another section, we're going to have a look at diet. So that's going to impact on their emotional control too, how hyper-aroused your system is. But generally, I'm afraid it's down to parents, whānau, family, that when it comes to emotional control. If you as a parent are struggling with helping your child through emotional control, maybe it's time to go and stay at tauas. Like Taura and Paua, grandparents are often more patient and better at exhibiting the sort of skills that the kids need for emotional control. So, no great words of wisdom to be able to easily get through the primary years without having emotional outbursts, because that's the very nature of being a childhood. All I can recommend is you use validation and you're sympathetic towards the child's emotions. The worst thing you can do is say harden up. That doesn't teach them emotional control. Emotional control is someone putting their arm around them and saying, yeah, it's really hard, isn't it? I have moments like that where it's really hard too. Why don't you try going and visiting one of your best friends? Or when I'm sad, what I do is, and you model those strategies. That's the only way you can really teach emotional control. And it's a journey. It's going to take a long time to get there. They're going to need you for a long time. Ka mihi koutou.